The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, and Lee Min Park stood there, his hands still trembling, staring at the waiter who had just caught his wrist mid-throw. The entire restaurant went silent. 50 pairs of eyes watched as Jayson Daniels held Lee Min's arm with surprising gentleness despite the strength in his grip, his dark brown eyes locked onto Lee Min's with an intensity that made the Korean businessman forget why he'd been so angry in the first place. "Sir," Jayson said quietly, "breaking things won't fix what's broken inside." Lee Min snatched his hand back like he'd been burned. His date, a beautiful woman named Jennifer who worked in finance, had already grabbed her purse and was storming toward the exit of Etoile, Manhattan's most exclusive French restaurant. She turned back once, her voice cutting through the silence like a knife. "You know what, Lee Min? Everyone was right about you. You're incapable of loving anyone. Ice runs through your veins instead of blood." The door slammed. The other diners slowly returned to their meals, pretending they hadn't just witnessed another dramatic end to another failed date involving Park Lee Min, the 32-year-old CEO of Park Industries who had graced the covers of Forbes and Fortune but couldn't maintain a relationship longer than 3 months. Jayson bent down to pick up the glass shards, and Lee Min found himself doing the same, their hands nearly touching as they reached for the same piece. Up close, Lee Min noticed things he'd never noticed about a waiter before. The small scar above Jayson's left eyebrow. The calluses on his hands. The way his name tag read, J, in elegant script. "I'll do it, sir," Jayson said, but there was no judgment in his voice, and that somehow made Lee Min feel worse. "I can clean up my own mess," Lee Min snapped, then immediately regretted his tone. If you're already invested in this story and want to see where this unexpected encounter leads, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a comment telling me if you've ever had a moment with a stranger that changed everything. And smash that like button because trust me, you won't believe where this story goes. 20 minutes later, Lee Min sat alone at his table, his third glass of wine in hand, watching Jayson move gracefully between tables. The restaurant manager had tried to kick Lee Min out, but Jayson had quietly intervened, whispering something that made the red-faced manager retreat. Now Lee Min couldn't stop watching this waiter who had stopped him from making an even bigger scene, this stranger who had looked at him like he was human instead of a headline. When Jayson approached his table again, Lee Min surprised himself by speaking. "Why did you stop me?" Jayson paused, his tray balanced perfectly on one hand. "Because I recognized the look in your eyes. I had the same look 2 years ago when my world fell apart. Anger isn't really anger when it comes from pain." Lee Min's carefully constructed walls cracked just a little. "You don't know anything about me." "No, sir, I don't." Jayson's smile was small but genuine. "But I know that look. I've seen it in the mirror." Before Lee Min could respond, Jayson was gone, attending to a table of businessmen who snapped their fingers at him like he was a dog. Lee Min felt unexpected anger rise in his chest at their treatment, which was ridiculous because he'd never paid attention to how people treated service staff before. He left a $500 tip on the table that night. Not out of guilt, he told himself. Just because the service had been good. The following Tuesday, Lee Min found himself back at Etoile with another date, a setup arranged by his mother who was desperate for grandchildren. Soo-jin was a lawyer, beautiful and accomplished, exactly the type of woman everyone expected him to marry. They'd been talking for 15 minutes about quarterly projections when Lee Min realized he'd been scanning the restaurant for a familiar face. Then he saw him. Jayson was serving the outdoor patio area, his white shirt crisp despite the humidity, his movements efficient and elegant. Lee Min excused himself from the table, ignoring Soo-jin's confused expression. He found Jayson refilling water glasses on the patio. "Mr. Park," Jayson said, recognizing him immediately. A flicker of something crossed his face. "Back so soon. I hope tonight goes better." "I wanted to apologize," Lee Min said abruptly. "For last week. That wasn't. I'm not usually human," Jayson suggested with a slight smile. "It's okay to be human, sir." Lee Min. My name is Lee Min. I know. You're kind of famous. Jayson set down his water pitcher. But I prefer to judge people by how they treat others, not their net worth. And how do I measure up on that scale? Jayson tilted his head thoughtfully. Ask me again when you're not on a date with someone you clearly don't want to be with. He walked away before Lee Min could formulate a response, leaving him standing there among the expensive tables and flowers, feeling more seen than he'd felt in years. The date ended badly, as they all did. Soo-jin called him emotionally unavailable. She wasn't wrong. Lee Min started coming to Etoile alone, always requesting Jayson's section. He told himself it was because the service was good, because Jayson was professional and didn't fawn over him like others did. He didn't examine why he felt his mood lift when those dark brown eyes met his, or why their brief exchanges became the highlight of his week. You're becoming our best customer, Jayson observed one evening, setting down Lee Min's usual order of steak, medium rare. Or you really love overpriced French food. Maybe I like the conversation, Lee Min said before he could stop himself. Jayson paused. The restaurant was quieter tonight, the dinner rush over. We don't really converse, sir. I bring you food. You eat it. You leave generous tips that make my coworkers jealous. Maybe I want to change that. Lee Min's heart pounded. What was he doing? When do you finish your shift? The question hung in the air between them, heavy with implications neither was ready to name. Midnight, Jayson said slowly. Why? There's a food truck 2 blocks from here. Best Korean tacos in Manhattan. I'll buy you dinner. As a thank you for putting up with me. Jayson studied him for a long moment, and Lee Min felt stripped bare under that gaze. Just as a thank you. I don't know, Lee Min admitted, the honesty surprising them both. I just know I want to talk to you. Really talk. Not in a restaurant where you're working and I'm pretending to enjoy eating alone. Okay, Jayson said softly. Midnight. But I'm paying for my own tacos. I don't accept charity. It's not charity. It's 2 people sharing a meal. Then okay, Lee Min. 2 people sharing a meal. The way Jayson said his name, without the honorifics or the formal distance, sent warmth through Lee Min's chest that he didn't want to examine too closely. Midnight found them sitting on a concrete barrier, tacos in hand, the city humming around them. Jayson had changed out of his waiter's uniform into jeans and a faded t-shirt that read, Houston Strong. He looked younger, more relaxed, and Lee Min couldn't stop stealing glances at him. So why does a successful CEO eat dinner alone 3 times a week at one of the most romantic restaurants in New York? Jayson asked, taking a bite of his taco. Why does someone who sounds like they're from Texas work as a waiter in Manhattan? Lee Min countered. I asked first. Lee Min sighed. Because alone is easier. People want things from me. My mother wants grandchildren. My board wants profits. The women I date want a fairy tale that I can't provide. Alone, I only disappoint myself. That's the saddest thing I've heard all week, and I watched a man propose to his girlfriend only for her to say no in the middle of the restaurant yesterday. Lee Min laughed, a real laugh that surprised him. Your turn. Why the waiter job? Why New York when you sound like Texas is home? Jayson's expression grew distant. I grew up in Houston. Nigerian American kid trying to figure out where I fit. Moved here 5 years ago for Columbia. Engineering degree. Was supposed to change the world. He paused, pain flickering across his face. But then I met Derek. The name landed between them like a stone. Lee Min felt something ugly twist in his stomach. Derek? My ex. We were together 3 years. He was my first real relationship, first person I came out to besides a few close friends. Thought we were building a life together. Jayson's voice was steady but Lee Min heard the pain underneath. He cheated on me with his coworker. Took our apartment, our mutual friends, left me with debt and trust issues. I dropped out of school to work, been saving to either finish my degree or figure out what comes next. Haven't decided which. I'm sorry. Don't be. I learned something important. Love makes you stupid. Makes you trust when you shouldn't. Makes you vulnerable. Jayson met Lee Min's eyes. Your turn. Why do you really reject every woman? And don't say it's because they want things from you. Everyone wants something. Lee Min set down his taco, his appetite gone. This was the conversation he'd been avoiding his whole life, but something about the late hour and Jayson's honesty pulled the truth out of him. Because I've never looked at a woman and felt anything beyond appreciation for her resume. Because my mother spent my whole childhood telling me to focus on success, that love was a distraction, that arranged marriages were practical. Because I built an empire and forgot to build myself. He paused. Because I'm 32 years old and I've never felt what they describe in books or movies or songs. That thing that makes people stupid, as you put it. Maybe you're looking in the wrong direction, Jayson said quietly. Their eyes met, and Lee Min felt the world tilt slightly on its axis. Maybe I was, Lee Min whispered. Jayson stood abruptly. I should go. Early shift tomorrow. Jayson, wait. Lee Min stood too, catching his arm. The contact sent electricity up his spine. Can we do this again? Talk, I mean. Not as a customer and a waiter. Just as two people figuring things out. Jayson's voice was gentle. Lee Min, do you even know what you're asking? No, Lee Min admitted. But I know that talking to you is the most real I've felt in years. I know that I look forward to Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday because those are the nights you work. I know that I'm terrified and confused and I don't have the vocabulary for what I'm feeling, but I know I feel something and I don't want to go back to not feeling. Jayson's breath caught. I've been hurt before. Really hurt. And you're still figuring yourself out. That's a dangerous combination. Then let's be careful. Let's take it slow. Let's just see where this goes. Please. The please did it. Jayson's defenses cracked just enough. Friday. There's a soul food place in Harlem that makes me feel like I'm back in Houston. Meet me there at 7. We'll eat real food and talk. But Lee Min, I need you to be sure. I can't be someone's experiment. I can't be the thing you try on and discard when you realize you were wrong. I'm not wrong about this, Lee Min said with more certainty than he'd felt about anything in years. I don't know what this is yet, but I'm not wrong. Friday couldn't come fast enough. Lee Min cancelled a board meeting, ignored 17 calls from his mother, and arrived at Sylvia's 30 minutes early. The restaurant was vibrant, filled with the smell of fried chicken and collard greens and the sound of soul music. He was overdressed in his Tom Ford suit, but he didn't care. Jayson arrived exactly at 7, wearing dark jeans and a burnt orange button-down that made his skin glow. Lee Min forgot how to breathe. You look beautiful, he said before he could stop himself. Jayson smiled, a real smile that lit up his entire face. You clean up nice yourself, Mr. CEO. Though you're going to stand out in here like a K-drama character. I've never watched a K-drama. Shut up, really? Okay, new plan. After we eat, we're going to my apartment and watching Crash Landing on You. You need a cultural education. The ease between them felt natural, right? They ordered fried chicken and mac and cheese and cornbread, and Jayson told stories about growing up in Houston's Third Ward, about feeling caught between Nigerian heritage and American culture, about his mother's cooking that he missed and the accent he tried to hide in corporate interviews. I understand feeling caught between worlds, Lee Min said, their fingers brushing as they both reached for the sweet tea. Neither pulled away. I moved to New York from Seoul when I was 12. Never quite Korean enough or American enough for anyone. Derek used to say I was too ethnic for his work friends. That I needed to tone down the African American slang, dress more corporate. I should have known then. Your voice is perfect, Lee Min said fiercely. Anyone who wanted you to change it was an idiot. Anyone who convinced you that you had to reject love to be successful was an idiot too. They ended up at Jayson's tiny apartment in Brooklyn, a fourth-floor walk-up that was 1/10 the size of Lee Min's penthouse but felt more like a home. Posters of Houston Rockets games covered the walls. Books were stacked everywhere. A small Nigerian flag sat on the bookshelf next to a Texas state flag. They didn't watch the K-drama. They talked instead, sitting on the couch with gradually decreasing space between them, until Lee Min's hand found Jayson's and their fingers intertwined. I'm scared, Lee Min admitted. I've never done this before. Any of this. I'm scared too, Jayson said. But maybe scared together is better than safe alone. When they kissed, soft and tentative and earth-shattering, Lee Min finally understood every song ever written about love. Okay, this is getting intense, right? If you're loving this story, leave a comment right now about a time you took a leap of faith on something scary. And make sure you're subscribed because the plot twists are coming and you don't want to miss what happens next. The next 3 months were the happiest of Lee Min's life. They kept their relationship quiet, meeting at Jayson's apartment or taking drives upstate. Lee Min knew he was hiding, knew that sneaking around was cowardly, but he wasn't ready to face his mother's disappointment or the board's judgment. Not yet. Jayson never pushed, but Lee Min could see the hurt in his eyes when Lee Min would drop his hand if they saw someone who might recognize them. Could feel the distance growing each time Lee Min made an excuse for why Jayson couldn't come to a company event. The explosion came on a Tuesday, 3 months and 4 days after their first kiss. Lee Min arrived at Jayson's apartment to find him packing boxes. What are you doing? Jayson didn't look at him. I got accepted back into Columbia. Engineering program. Full scholarship this time. I can finish my degree. That's amazing. Why didn't you tell me you reapplied? Because I didn't think I'd get in. And because I also applied for something else. Jayson finally turned around, and Lee Min saw tears on his face. There's a tech startup in Austin that wants me on their team. Good salary, benefits, a chance to actually use my degree. I have an offer letter. The floor dropped out from under Lee Min's world. No. No, you can't leave. Why not, Lee Min? What am I staying for? A relationship we hide like it's shameful. Late-night meetings in an apartment we both pretend is enough. You won't introduce me to your friends, your family, your life. I'm a secret. Derek made me a secret too, and I swore I'd never do that again. That's not fair. I just need more time. Time for what? Jayson's voice broke. Time to decide if being with me is worth the inconvenience of people knowing you're queer. Time to choose between your perfect CEO image and the waiter you slum it with. Don't say that. You know you're more than that. Do I? Because from where I'm standing, I'm convenient. I'm easy. I don't demand anything. I let you keep me hidden while I fall more in love with you every day and you can't even tell your assistant that you're in a relationship. The words, "in love with you," should have made Lee Min happy. Instead, they felt like an accusation. I love you too, Lee Min said desperately. Doesn't that matter? Love that hides isn't love, Lee Min. It's cowardice. Jayson wiped his eyes. I deserve better than being someone's secret. I deserve someone who's proud to be with me. I am proud. Then prove it. Tomorrow night, there's a gala for LGBTQ+ business leaders. I saw the invitation on your counter last time I was at your place. Take me. Introduce me as your partner. Show me I'm more than someone you hide. Lee Min's mind raced. His mother would be at that gala. Half the tech industry would be there. The press would have a field day. The silence stretched too long. That's what I thought, Jayson said softly. I need you to leave now. Jayson, please. Leave, Lee Min. Just leave. Lee Min left, his heart shattered, and spent the night drinking expensive whiskey in his expensive penthouse, more alone than he'd ever been. The gala invitation sat on his counter, mocking him. Lee Min picked it up a dozen times, put it down a dozen times. He drafted texts to Jayson that he never sent. He called his mother, hung up before she answered. He stood in front of his bathroom mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. When had he become someone who chose reputation over love? When had he become his mother? The answer came at 3 a.m., clarity born from whiskey and heartbreak. He'd always been this person. Jayson hadn't changed him. Jayson had just shown him who he was, and Lee Min finally hated what he saw. The morning of the gala, Lee Min did something he'd never done. He called an emergency board meeting. "Gentlemen, ladies," he said to the 15 powerful faces on his screen. "I'm making a personal announcement that may affect Park Industries' public image, and you deserve to know first." His CFO, Richard, frowned. "What kind of announcement?" "I'm queer. I'm in a relationship with a man, a Nigerian-American man who works as a waiter and is the most incredible person I've ever met. Tonight, I'm bringing him to the LGBTQ+ Business Leaders Gala as my partner. I'm not asking permission. I'm informing you of my decision and giving you the opportunity to request my resignation if you feel my personal life compromises the company." The silence was deafening. Then Margaret, the head of marketing and the only person on the board older than his mother, started laughing. "Oh honey, we've known you were gay since you started bringing models to events and looked miserable in every photo. We've been running a betting pool on when you'd figure it out." Lee Min's jaw dropped. "What?" Richard grinned. "Margaret's up $300 now. I had money on next year. But seriously, Lee Min, this is the 21st century. The only thing that would make us request your resignation is if you keep making stupid decisions that affect profit margins. Your love life. Not our concern. Be happy. God knows you've been insufferable long enough." The meeting ended with Lee Min in tears, good tears, overwhelmed by acceptance he hadn't expected. His mother was a different story. "You want to bring a man to a public event? A waiter?" Her voice over the phone was ice. "Do you want to embarrass this family?" "I want to stop living a lie. I love him, Mom. I love him and I almost lost him because I was too much of a coward to admit it." "Love." She said the word like it was poison. "I raised you better than this. Love is for people who can afford to be weak. You're a Park. Act like it." "No, Mom. You raised me to be successful and miserable. I'm choosing different. I'm sorry if that disappoints you, but I'm done disappointing myself." He hung up before she could respond, his hands shaking but his resolve solid. At 6 p.m., Lee Min stood outside Jayson's apartment building, his heart hammering. He'd bought a suit for Jayson, custom-made, midnight blue with subtle gold threading that would complement his skin tone perfectly. He'd hired a car. He'd prepared a speech. Jayson answered the door in sweats, eyes red-rimmed. "Lee Min. What are you doing here?" "Choosing you," Lee Min said simply. He held out the suit. "I'm choosing you, Jayson. I told my board. I told my mother. I'm not hiding anymore. Come to the gala with me. Let me introduce you as my partner, the man I love, the person who made me want to be braver." Jayson stared at him, tears forming. "You told your mother? She's furious. Might disown me. I don't care. I care about you." Lee Min stepped closer. "You were right. Love that hides isn't love. So I'm not hiding anymore. I'm terrified and I'll probably mess up and I don't know how to do any of this publicly, but I want to try. With you. If you'll still have me. You're serious. You're really serious." I've never been more serious about anything. Don't go to Austin. Or go, and let me come with you. I can run Park Industries from anywhere. We can figure it out together. Just please don't give up on us because I was too stupid to realize what I had. Jayson pulled him into a kiss that tasted like salt and second chances. The suit better fit, he whispered against Lee Min's lips. I bribed your roommate for your measurements. You're ridiculous. I'm in love. They arrived at the gala an hour late, both in perfectly tailored suits, holding hands. The flash of cameras was blinding. Lee Min heard gasps, whispers, saw his mother's shocked face across the room. He didn't let go of Jayson's hand. Park Lee Min. A reporter shoved a microphone in his face. Is this your coming out? Who's your companion? This is Jayson Daniels, my partner, Lee Min said clearly, his voice steady. And yes, I'm queer. I'm also the CEO of Park Industries, a son, and someone who's learning that living honestly is more important than living carefully. Jayson squeezed his hand, pride and love radiating from his smile. The night was a blur of conversations and introductions. Some people were supportive. Others were cold. Lee Min's mother left early without speaking to him, but he saw her pause at the door, saw something like reluctant understanding cross her face before she disappeared. What mattered was Jayson beside him, laughing at jokes, charming investors with stories about Houston and his engineering projects, fitting into Lee Min's world while remaining completely himself. At midnight, they escaped to the balcony, the Manhattan skyline glittering around them. You know this changes everything, Jayson said. You'll be in tabloids. People will say terrible things. Let them talk. As long as I have you, I can handle anything. You're sure? Because I'm still planning to finish my degree. I'm still considering that Austin offer. I'm not going to be a trophy husband to a CEO. Good. I don't want a trophy. I want a partner. An equal. Someone who challenges me. Lee Min wrapped his arms around Jayson's waist. What if we make it work? You finish your degree here or in Austin, and I'll figure out how to run Park Industries remotely when I need to. We can build something together. You'd restructure your whole life? Your company? I'd restructure everything for you. Isn't that what love is? Choosing someone over convenience. Over comfort. You taught me that. Jayson turned in his arms, eyes bright. This is going to be complicated. Long distance some days, people judging us, figuring out careers and dreams that don't always line up. I can't wait, Lee Min said honestly. Every adventure with you sounds perfect. But life, as it turns out, had other plans. 2 weeks before Jayson's decision deadline about Austin, Lee Min got a call that made his blood run cold. Mr. Park, there's been an accident. Your mother collapsed at a charity event. She's in the hospital. She's asking for you. Are you still watching? Drop a like if this story has you in your feelings, and comment what you think happens next. Trust me, we're not done yet. Lee Min and Jayson rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, where they found Mrs. Park in a private room, looking smaller and frilier than Lee Min had ever seen her. Her stroke had been minor, the doctor said, but it was a warning. She needed to reduce stress, change her lifestyle. She looked at their intertwined hands when they entered, and something crumpled in her expression. You came, she whispered in Korean. Of course I came, Mom. Lee Min sat beside her bed, not letting go of Jayson's hand. You're my mother. Even though I said those terrible things. Even though I chose tradition over your happiness. Even though. She turned to Jayson, switching to accented English. You're the waiter. The one who made my son brave enough to be himself. Yes, ma'am, Jayson said respectfully. Though Lee Min was always brave. He just needed a reason to show it. Mrs. Park was quiet for a long moment. Then, Tears sliding down her face, she said, "My husband died when Lee Min was 15. I was alone in a country that wasn't mine, with a company to run and a son to raise. I thought if I taught him to be hard, to choose success over softness, he'd survive. Instead, I taught him to be lonely." She looked at Lee Min. "I'm sorry, my son. I'm so sorry." Lee Min felt his own tears fall. "Mom. This young man," she continued, looking at Jayson, "he makes you smile. I see it in your face. You look alive again. Like you did before your father died, before I ruined you with my fears. You didn't ruin me. You kept us afloat. You did what you thought was right. And now I want to do better. If you'll let me." She extended a shaking hand to Jayson. "Please forgive an old woman her prejudices. Help me understand. Teach me how to be a mother who supports instead of smothers." Jayson took her hand gently. "Family is complicated, Mrs. Park. But family that tries, that chooses love over fear. That's worth fighting for." The three of them talked for hours, until the nurses kicked them out. Mrs. Park made them promise to delay any Austin decision for a month, let her recover, let her get to know Jayson properly. They agreed. That month became a revelation. Mrs. Park attended dinners at Jayson's apartment, trying soul food for the first time and listening to stories about Houston and growing up navigating two cultures. She asked questions, some awkward, some touching, all genuine. She told stories about Lee Min's father, admitting she'd discouraged emotions because her own grief had nearly destroyed her. "Your father," she told Lee Min one evening, all three of them in her Upper East Side home, "would have loved seeing you this happy. He was the romantic. I was the practical one. I thought I needed to be both after he died. I was wrong." Jayson started volunteering at an LGBTQ+ youth center in the Bronx, finding purpose in mentoring young men who were navigating coming out in immigrant families. Lee Min would often join him, surprised by how fulfilling it felt to give back, to be part of something bigger than profit margins. "You're good at this," Jayson said one evening, watching Lee Min talk to a Korean-American teenager who was terrified to tell his parents. "Being real. Being human. You should do it more often." "I'm learning," Lee Min admitted. "You're a good teacher." Finally, after 4 weeks of soul-searching, late-night conversations, and building a life together in plain sight, Jayson made his decision. "I'm staying in New York," he announced over dinner at Lee Min's penthouse, where Mrs. Park had joined them for weekly meals. "Columbia offered me a research position that'll cover tuition. I can finish my degree and work on projects I actually care about." And Lee Min prompted, heart in his throat. "And I'm not ready to leave. Not when we're just starting to build something real. Not when I'm finally learning what healthy love looks like." Jayson took Lee Min's hand. "Austin will always be there. But this? Us? This feels like something I don't want to walk away from." Lee Min pulled him into a kiss, not caring that his mother was right there. Mrs. Park just smiled and took another bite of the Korean soul food fusion Jayson had been teaching her to cook. 6 months later, Lee Min surprised Jayson with a weekend trip to Houston. "I know you don't talk much about your past here," Lee Min said as they drove through 3rd Ward, "but I wanted to see where you came from. Understand that part of you." Jayson was quiet, staring out at streets he'd once called home. They stopped at a small Nigerian restaurant, ate jollof rice and plantains, and Jayson slowly started sharing stories he'd kept locked away. About growing up between cultures. About friends he'd lost touch with. About the complicated relationship with heritage and identity that he was still navigating. "My parents split when I was 10, Jayson finally said, the words coming slow and painful. Dad went back to Nigeria. Mom stayed here, worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. She passed away 4 years ago. Cancer." His voice cracked. "I was with Derek then. He complained that my grief was inconvenient, that I was too emotional. I should have left then. Lee Min pulled him close. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I don't talk about it. Easier to just keep moving forward, you know. Jayson wiped his eyes. But being here with you, it feels different. Like maybe I can face these memories without drowning in them. They spent the weekend visiting places that mattered to Jayson. His mother's favorite church. The library where he'd spent hours dreaming of being an engineer. The park where he'd first admitted to himself that he liked boys. Thank you for this, Jayson said on their last night, sitting on a bench watching the Houston skyline. For caring enough to understand all of me. The New York version and the Houston version and all the complicated pieces in between. I love all the versions, Lee Min said simply. Every single piece. Back in New York, they fell into a rhythm. Jayson thrived at Columbia, his research on sustainable engineering making waves. Lee Min restructured Park Industries to include social responsibility initiatives, partnering with LGBTQ+ organizations and diversity programs. They moved in together, a beautiful apartment in Chelsea that felt like both of them, Korean art next to Houston Rockets memorabilia, kimchi in the fridge next to hot sauce. Mrs. Park became their biggest supporter, attending Pride with them, joining PFLAG, even giving a speech at a Korean American parents group about accepting LGBTQ+ children. My son taught me that love is love, she said at the event, her English improving, her voice strong. And his partner taught me that family is who we choose, who chooses us back. I almost lost my son because of my fear. Don't make my mistake. 1 year after the gala, on the anniversary of the night Lee Min chose courage over comfort, he came home to find Jayson cooking dinner, music playing, looking completely at home in their shared space. Hey, Jayson said, smiling. Good day. Better now. Lee Min wrapped his arms around him from behind. I have something for you. It's not our anniversary. It's the anniversary of me getting my head out of my ass. That deserves celebration. Lee Min pulled out a small box, and Jayson's breath caught. Jayson Daniels, Lee Min said, opening it to reveal 2 simple platinum bands, you taught me that love isn't weakness. That being seen is better than being safe. That choosing someone every day is what makes a life worth living. His voice shook. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life choosing you, supporting your dreams, building something beautiful with you? Jayson was crying, laughing, nodding all at once. You really know how to make a gesture, don't you? Is that a yes? That's a hell yes, you ridiculous man. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The kiss tasted like home. They married 6 months later in a ceremony that blended Korean traditions with touches of Nigerian heritage and Southern soul. Mrs. Park walked Lee Min down the aisle. Jayson's mentor from the youth center stood up for him. The reception was at a rooftop venue overlooking Manhattan, the city where they'd found each other, lost each other, and chose each other again. Look at us, Jayson said during their first dance, the CEO and the waiter who wouldn't stay in his lane. Best decision I never made, Lee Min said, echoing words from a year ago. Rejecting every woman until I met you. You didn't meet me. I stopped you from throwing a tantrum. Semantics. Point is, you saved me. We saved each other, Jayson corrected, resting his head on Lee Min's shoulder. Now we get to build a life. Think we can handle it? With you? I can handle anything. If you've made it this far in the story, you're the real MVP. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, drop a comment about what part made you cry or smile, and like this video to tell YouTube to share it with more people who need to hear a love story that's real, messy, and beautiful. 3 years later, Lee Min and Jayson had built something neither had imagined that night at the food truck. Jayson had completed his PhD in engineering and was leading an innovative project on sustainable urban development. Lee Min had transformed Park Industries into a leader in socially responsible tech, with diversity and inclusion at its core. They'd also become foster parents to two teenage boys, Marcus and David, both navigating the foster system and their own coming-out journeys. You know, Marcus said one evening at dinner, a weekly tradition in their home, when I got placed with you guys, I thought it was too good to be true. Gay Korean CEO and black engineer. That's like, unicorn-level foster parents. We're just people trying to do better, Jayson said, passing the kimchi fried rice that had become a household favorite. Nah, your proof that it gets better isn't just a slogan, David added. That people like us can have real lives. Real love. Real families. Mrs. Park, who'd become a weekly dinner fixture, beamed at her son. 3 years ago, I would have missed this. All of this. Thank you for not giving up on your stubborn mother. Family doesn't give up, Lee Min said, squeezing Jayson's hand under the table. We just keep showing up. Later that night, after the boys were doing homework and Mrs. Park had gone home, Lee Min and Jayson stood on their balcony, the city spread out before them like a promise. Do you ever think about that night? Jayson asked. The champagne glass. All the time. Best tantrum I ever threw. You were a disaster. I was lost. Then I found you. Lee Min pulled him close. Or you found me. I'm still not sure which. Does it matter? No. All that matters is we found each other. And we keep choosing this. Every day. Jayson smiled, that brilliant smile that still made Lee Min's heart skip. Every single day. A year later, Lee Min stood in front of a TED Talk audience, sharing his story. Not the sanitized, corporate version. The real one. I spent 32 years rejecting love because I thought it made me weak, he said to the thousands watching. I dated women I had no connection with because it was expected. I built $1 billion company but couldn't build a real relationship. I was successful and completely empty. He paused, finding Jayson in the front row. Then I threw a champagne glass in a restaurant because another date ended badly. And a waiter, a man who had every reason to ignore me, stopped me. Looked at me with compassion instead of judgment. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, taught me that love isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing we can do. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. My husband Jayson and I have been together 5 years now. We have 2 teenage sons through foster care. We've built a life that doesn't look like the one I planned, but it's infinitely better. Because it's real. Because it's ours. Because we chose each other when choosing each other was terrifying. He took a breath, emotion thick in his throat. So if you're out there, hiding who you are because you're scared of what people will think, I see you. If you're rejecting love because you think success is more important, I've been you. If you're waiting for the perfect moment to be brave, let me tell you a secret, there's no perfect moment. There's just the moment you decide that living honestly is worth more than living safely. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. But all Lee Min saw was Jayson, tears streaming down his face, pride radiating from every inch of him. That night, lying in bed, Jayson traced patterns on Lee Min's chest. You know what I love most about our story? He asked. What's that? That it didn't start with love at first sight or some grand romantic gesture. It started with you being a mess and me just trying to stop you from making it worse. Lee Min laughed. So romantic. But it's real. And real is better than perfect. Real is you learning to be vulnerable. Real is me learning to trust again. Real is building something day by day, mistake by mistake, choosing each other over and over. I'll choose you every time, Lee Min whispered. I know. That's why we work. They fell asleep tangled together, 2 people who'd been lost in different ways finding home in each other.